My name is Amara Okafor. I was born in Enugu State, Nigeria. But what I'm about to tell you is not something I ever wanted to remember again. For years, I wasn't just a witch. I was what we called a questionnaire. Not every witch casts spells directly. Some of us gather information because in our kingdom, before any attack is successful, questions must be answered. And the more accurate the answers, the more deadly the spell. I was initiated when I was 17 years old. It didn't start with flying or rituals. It started with curiosity. My aunt, Auntie Ifoma, used to ask strange questions. Questions that didn't make sense at the time. She would call me and say, "That's your friend Choma. What time does she sleep?" Or, "That boy that likes you, where does he usually eat?" At first, I thought she was just being inquisitive. But one night, everything changed. It was around 2:15 a.m. I remember the exact time because that was when they always came. I felt something heavy on my chest. Then I heard her voice, not outside, but inside my head. "Come, it is time." Before I could react, I was no longer in my room. I was standing in a large, dark compound, surrounded by women, some old, some young, some not fully human. That was when I realized witchcraft is organized, structured, strategic. And the first thing they taught me was this: we don't attack blindly, we ask questions. You see, most people think witches just pick random victims. That is a lie. We study you, we profile you, we understand your spiritual access points. Because every human being has a weak moment, a weak place, a weak connection, a weak covenant. And our job is to find it. I wasn't powerful at first. I didn't cast spells. I didn't fly far. But I had one ability. I could get people to talk. And in our kingdom, that made me valuable. They trained me to ask normal questions in normal conversations without raising suspicion. But those questions were never ordinary. My first real assignment was a woman named Mrs. Ngozi Eze, a trader in Onitsha Main Market. She was doing well, too well, so they marked her. But before we could attack, we needed answers, and I was sent. Let me expose them one by one, because many of you have already answered these questions without knowing. What time do you usually sleep? It sounds harmless, but spiritually, it is a door locator because some people are strongest at night, some are weakest at night. If we know when you sleep, we know when your spirit is least active. That's when attacks happen. 2. Do you pray at night? This is one of the most dangerous questions. If you say no, I am too tired at night, we report no midnight defense. That means you are open territory. 3. Where do you keep your money? People think this is just curiosity. No, it is targeting. Because once we know your shop location, your account habits, your storage pattern, we can assign economic attacks, loss cycles, sudden expenses. 4. What do you eat before sleeping? This one is very deep because food is spiritual. If we know your eating pattern, we can introduce spiritual contamination, attack through dreams, manipulate your body at night. 5. Who are you closest to? This is not friendship talk. This is access mapping. Because sometimes we don't attack you directly. We go through your best friend, your partner, your family member. When I gathered all the information about Mrs. Ngozi, I returned to the meeting. They didn't celebrate. They didn't shout. They simply said, "Now we can enter." That night, I saw something I will never forget. A woman stepped forward. Her eyes were not normal. She belonged to what we called the Marine Kingdom. She said she eats late and sleeps immediately. That was the entry point. Because heavy food before sleep makes the spirit sluggish. Then another entity appeared, tall, slim, cold. This one was from the Serpentine Kingdom. He said, "She trusts one woman too much." That woman became the channel. That same week, her goods started spoiling. Her money started missing. She began having strange dreams. But the worst part, she didn't know it started with simple questions. Let me tell you something that will shock you. Sometimes, the person asking you these questions is not even aware they are being used, because witches can influence conversations, control curiosity, insert questions into people's mind. So even your friend can unknowingly become an agent. My second major assignment was more dangerous because this time the target was a prayerful pastor in Port Harcourt, and pastors are not easy to attack. So the questions became deeper. These are the ones that sound normal but are actually deadly. What scripture do you pray with the most? This reveals your spiritual pattern, your prayer focus, your defensive strategy. Once we know that, we prepare counterattacks. 7. Do you fast often? If yes, we delay attacks. If no, we strike immediately. 8. Have you ever been anointed before? This determines your spiritual covering, your resistance level. 9. What are you struggling with lately? This is the most dangerous because whatever you confess becomes a targeted weapon point. We gathered everything, but something unexpected happened. When we tried to attack him, we were pushed back. Not once, not twice, multiple times. Because there was one question we asked, and the answer shocked us. We asked someone close to him, "Does he pray at midnight?" The answer, "Every single night." That one answer saved him. That was the first time I questioned everything because I realized not everyone can be destroyed. Some people are too covered. And that is why I am speaking, because many of you listening to this have already been studied, already been questions, already been mapped. If you have been listening, then you already know this truth. We don't attack randomly, we investigate first. But what I'm about to reveal now is something many people are not ready for, because the next level of questioning is no longer casual, it becomes intentional infiltration. After the failed attack on the pastor in Port Harcourt, I was called into a deeper meeting. This time, not everyone was present, only those who had risen in rank. That was when they told me, "You will no longer just ask questions, you will become the question." I didn't understand at first until they gave me the assignment. The target was a young man in Lagos. His name was Chinedu Okeke. He lived in Surulere, Lagos. Business was growing. He was disciplined. He had a prayer life, but not consistent. And that last part was enough. I was not sent to attack him immediately. I was sent to enter his life, become his friend, his comfort, and his emotional safe place. Because once a person trusts you, they will answer anything. Let me expose the questions I asked him, because many of you have had these exact questions from someone you loved. 10. What scares you the most? This question is not emotional, it is fear mapping, because fear is one of the easiest doors to enter. When he told me, "I am afraid of failure and losing everything I have worked for," I knew immediately that was the attack point. 11. What do you usually dream about? Dreams are not ordinary, they are spiritual highways. When he said, "Sometimes I see myself being chased or losing things," I reported it, because that means his dream life was already vulnerable. 12. Do you believe everyone around you is genuine? This question is subtle but powerful, because it reveals trust level, awareness, spiritual sensitivity. When he laughed and said, "Of course, not everyone is bad," I knew he would not suspect me. 13. When was the last time you prayed seriously? This one was crucial. He paused, then said, "It's been a while." That answer alone opened the door. Once I gathered enough information, I didn't leave. I stayed, because sometimes the assignment is not just to gather data, it is to weaken the target emotionally. I became everything he needed. I listened. I encouraged him. I comforted him. But slowly, I began to distract him from prayer, normalize compromise, introduce more disobedience, and he didn't notice. Behind the scenes, the serpentine kingdom was working. Their role is subtle. They don't destroy immediately, they corrupt slowly. They whispered, "Make him depend on you, not God," and it worked. Then came the marine agents. Their assignment is different. They deal with seduction, emotional bonding, soul ties. That was when my role changed. One night during the meeting, they said, "You have asked enough questions. Now bind him." And I understood. I moved closer to him, not just as a friend, but as something more. And this is where many people fall. Because when emotions are involved, discernment goes down. Before a full spiritual attachment, we ask deeper questions. These ones are dangerous. Do you see future with me? Do you see a future with me? This is not romance. This is covenant invitation. 15. Would you ever choose me over your faith? This is a test to see what truly controls you. 16. What is your greatest weakness right now? This one is like handing over your spiritual key. After he answered these questions, everything began to change. His business started declining. His discipline weakened. His prayer life died completely. And the worst part, he became dependent on me. This was the assignment that broke something inside me. Because this time, the targets were not adults, they were children. We don't approach children like adults. We make it playful, but the intention is dark. What do you like to eat the most? Food is a gateway, especially for children. 18. Do you have bad dreams? If yes, we amplify them. 19. Who do you love the most? That person becomes a channel. 20. Do you pray before sleeping? If no, they become easy targets at night. One of the children, a little girl in Ibadan, started having constant nightmares after we marked her. She would wake up screaming, calling for help, and I knew we caused it. That was when I started questioning everything because this was no longer power, control, strategy. This was pure destruction. Back to Chinedu, the man I was assigned to destroy. Something unexpected happened. One night, after months of manipulation, he said something that shook me. He looked at me and said, "I don't know why, but I feel like I'm losing myself. I need to go back to God." That night he prayed for the first time in a long time, and everything changed. When he prayed, we felt it. The connection weakened. The access started breaking. The control started slipping. That same night, I was summoned urgently, and they told me, "If he continues like this, you will lose him." Because in that kingdom, failure has consequences, serious consequences. This is where everything collapses. No more hiding. This is where I tell you the truth about what happens when a witch fails and how I barely escaped with my life. If you have listened so far, then you already understand something many people don't know. Witchcraft is not noise, it is strategy, it is patience, it is questions. But what I'm about to tell you now is what happens when that system starts to fail. After Chinedu began to pray again, everything changed. The same access we once had started closing. The same control began to break. And in our kingdom, failure is not tolerated. Around 1:43 a.m., there was an emergency summon. I didn't slip into the meeting this time. I was dragged, pulled violently into the gathering. And when I arrived, the atmosphere was different. No calmness, no strategy, only anger. They didn't greet me. They didn't ask questions. They said, "You have become emotionally attached to the target." That sentence alone is a crime in that system because once you fail, you lose control. The serpentine entity stepped forward, cold, silent, terrifying. He said, "You were sent to destroy, not to sympathize." Then he asked me a question, the kind of question we used to ask others. Where does your loyalty lie? And for the first time, I could not answer. Then the marine agent spoke. Her voice was calm but dangerous. She said, "If the target escapes, you will replace him. That means I would become the victim." Let me expose this clearly because many people don't know. Because many people don't know when a witch fails. They can lose their protection. They can be spiritually tortured. They can be sacrificed. Or worse, they can be bound permanently. That night, they didn't destroy me immediately. Instead, they weakened me. I felt something leave my body. My strength, my confidence, my control. And I heard, "You have 3 days." 3 days to do what? To complete the assignment, to destroy Chinedu completely or face the consequences. For the first time, I didn't want to continue. Not because I was good, but because I was afraid. Because I had seen what happens to those who fail, what happens to those who resist, and I knew I was already standing in danger. On the second night, I went to see him, Chinedu, the same man I was sent to destroy. Even at that point, the system in me was still active. So I asked him one final set of questions. Do you still believe God hears you? If he said no, we could still finish him. 22. Are you sure you can change? This question is meant to introduce doubt. What if nothing improves? This one is designed to kill hope. But this time, something was different. He looked at me not emotionally, not weakly, but with clarity. And he said, "Even if nothing changes, I will still pray." That sentence destroyed everything. Immediately, I felt it. The connection snapped completely. The access was gone. The control was gone. Everything gone. That same night, I was attacked, not physically, spiritually. I was dragged back again, but this time, there was no discussion, only judgment. They said, "You failed." I was about to be banned forever, used as an example. And that was when it happened. For the first time in my life, not pretending, not performing, not repeating what I had, but from deep inside me, I cried, "Jesus, help me." Let me tell you something. That kingdoms fear one thing. genuine surrender, not empty words, not return prayer, but real, broken, desperate surrender. Immediately I said that name, everything shook. The meeting scattered, the entities disappeared, the hold broke. I woke up on the floor of my room crying, shaking, free. For weeks I couldn't sleep. I kept remembering the questions, the strategies, the people we destroyed, and I knew I could not stay silent. Listen carefully, because this is why I shared everything. Not every question is innocent. Be careful when people ask you about your fears, your prayer life, your habits, your weaknesses, because sometimes it is not curiosity, it is spiritual targeting. Not every relationship is safe. Some people don't enter your life by accident, they are sent to study you, weaken you, destroy you. Your defense is real. The reason some people cannot be destroyed is because they pray, they stay connected to God, they are spiritually alert. If you remember nothing else, remember this: what you reveal carelessly can be used against you spiritually. My name is Amara Okafor. I was once part of that system, but today I am free.